That's the thing that gets me excited. It gets me up in the morning, solving problems for patients, solving big problems for patients, okay? And I'll be honest, I get more of a buzz, more of excitement, passion from actually helping everyday patients in the practice here than I do in pro sport, because you can see the impact that you make in patients' lives. So it's really important that you're calm and confident and you can problem solve your complex patients. Hey, welcome to the Go-To Physio Podcast. My name is Dave O'Sullivan, and in this podcast, my aim is to give you 15 years of my experience in professional sport and private practice and share that knowledge so that you can get real world results with your complex patients who have failed traditional approaches. I hope you enjoy the show. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to become a calm, confident physio that helps complex patients. So what I'm going to reveal in this episode is the process that I do to transform therapist confidence and show you how you can do it for yourself also. Now, today's episode, as I said, it is a HPP episode, and it's the process that I go through in order to build calm, confident therapists. Okay, so this is page 65 in Happy Progressing Patients. Now, the title of this page is The 3 Critical Sides to Creating Raving Fans Who Refer. Okay, now the reality is, if you're a calm, confident physio who can help complex patients who have failed traditional approaches, you will have no issues whatsoever getting patients to refer other people to you. Okay, and I always say this: if you're good at what you do, you'll never ever be out of work in our profession, especially with patients who have failed traditional approaches. Okay, and this is essentially how we've built this clinic up, and very much how I've built my reputation up. It's helping people who have failed traditional approaches, and that's the thing that gets me excited. It gets me up in the morning, solving problems for patients, solving big problems for patients, okay? And I'll be honest, I get more of a buzz, more of excitement, passion from actually helping everyday patients in the practice here than I do in pro sport, because you can see the impact that you make in patients' lives. So it's really important that you're calm and confident and you can problem solve your complex patients' problems, okay? So the key thing, how do we do it? Okay, so again, there's so much information out there. There's so much ways to do things. I want to share with you how I do it, especially in the mentorship program. Okay, so when a therapist comes into me in the mentorship program, or if you want to work with me in the mentorship, or if you come work with me here as a therapist, working for us, a pro sport physio, the way I do this is I focus on 3 key things. Okay, the first thing I focus on is SOS. Okay. The second thing is BAR, and then the third thing is DOMS, okay, DOMS. Now, I'll go through all of those. Now, SOS, as I say in the book, is 65, page 65. That stands for sense of symptoms. That is the first step that you need to get right. Don't worry about getting buy-in, adherence, retention, or hands-on and rehab or all of that if you can't make sense of the symptoms, okay? So the sense of symptoms, that's really important, because if you can make sense of the symptoms, that's where you'll always know where to start with your treatment plan, okay? You'll have confidence and clarity when explaining the plan and solution to the patient. You'll design a plan that solves the patient's problems, and then you'll take away the guesswork and sessions and over-treating, okay? So if you can't make sense of the symptoms, then it's going to be very hard. You won't have confidence to ultimately explain the problem and solution to the patient. So you can't answer the 4 big pro sport questions, which we talked about in episode 9, okay? So making sense of symptoms is really important. Now, the biggest advice I have for you here is shift your focus from a diagnosis-based assessment to an actual shopping basket-based assessment. That allows you to then be empowered to actually, even if you're not 100% sure of a diagnosis, that you can actually show the patient what's not doing its job. So you might go something along the lines, okay, well, you have back pain, but actually on assessment, this and this isn't doing enough work. So if we can get this and this to do enough work, then 9 times out of 10, the symptoms are going to reduce. Okay, as opposed to, okay, is it a nerve root? Is it a disc? Is it a facet? Now, obviously, you will have clues based on that, but 99 times out of 100, I don't give a diagnosis like that. I tell the patient, here's the problem. This is what isn't happening. That if it was happening, the pain wouldn't be a problem. Here's the plan. We're going to get this and this to do its work. We're going to spend 20% of our time on the symptoms, 80% of our time on the on what's not doing its job. So making sense of the symptoms and shifting your focus from a diagnosis-based approach to a shopping basket approach, it's very empowering for a therapist. Now, obviously, keyboard warriors, I'm not saying like you have to rule out red flags, okay? And pathology sometimes will be present, like an ACL or like a ligament injury in the knee. Of course, we need to understand pathology and diagnosis will be important there. But for the vast majority, non-specific, low back pain and all these types of things, anterior knee pain, very often the diagnosis, as I said, it's almost here nor there. If you focus on what's not doing its job, 9 times out of 10, those symptoms will settle. Okay, so that's the first thing, is we want to make sense of the symptoms. So the shopping basket approach is empowering for therapists, and then that gives you the clarity to answer the 4 big pro sport questions. What's the problem? Why did it happen? What's the plan? How long is it going to take? Which then allows you to set expectations. Okay, so answering those 4 questions, that's then the next thing that allows you to get the BAR. Okay, so the BAR, so SOS is sense of symptoms, BAR, okay, is buy-in, adherence, and retention. Okay, so by getting buy-in, adherence, and retention, okay, by having clarity and confidence to answer the 4 pro sport questions, that allows you to bridge the gap from low to high level rehab. Because if you want to build resilience, and that's where the wow factor kicks in, where patients can move with thoughtless wireless movement, which is where the referrals kick in, you need time. So you have to be able to bridge the gap from low to high level rehab once the pain starts to settle. You want to keep the patients progressing to thoughtless wireless movement, where they can actually feel a difference throughout the day. And then that's where allows us to create a Raven fan and ultimately get referrals. Okay, so the buy-in, the adherence, and the retention allows you time, essentially. Okay, and then the final critical component of the triangle is DOMS, okay, which stands for the dream outcome, milestones, and start fast. Okay, now if you remember, I talked a lot about this in it was actually episode, let me get the right episode for you, episode 9, okay, of the which is episode 41 of the Go-To Physio Podcast. So season 3, episode 9, or episode 41 in total. Okay, that's where the dream outcome, the milestones, and the start fast are so critical. That's the milestones are going to be the thing that keeps your patient on the right track, that they know they're on the right track getting there. So in that episode 41, I talked about getting from Huddersfield to London. I need to go to Sheffield. I need to go past Leicester. I need to pass Northampton, Luton. Then I know I'm getting close to London. So for me to get from Huddersfield to Sheffield in the quickest possible time, that's going to give me a lot of confidence that I'm on the right track and that I'm making good progress. Okay, so that's going to allow you to prescribe the right exercise at the right time, work towards the dream outcome, and start hitting milestones along the way that ensures the patient can see the progress and increases the likelihood of achievement that they'll actually achieve their dream outcome, so that they start to trust you. That gives you time then to deliver the outcome, which is then going to ultimately get you referrals. Okay, so SOS, making sense of the symptoms, that gives you the confidence to explain the problem, solution, and plan. Once we prescribe the solution, problem, solution, and plan, that's going to get you the best chance of getting buy-in, adherence, and retention. That allows you time to bridge the gap from low to high level rehab, get to thoughtless wireless movement, which is going to create Raven fans and get referrals. And then the DOMS is we're going to get the dream outcome. We're going to start fast by hitting the first milestones. Okay, so we can hit key milestones, deliver the dream outcome, create a Raven fan, and ultimately get referrals. So you can see everything's interlinked. Now, when we look at this on a broader scale, I've broken it down into 8 key pillars. Okay, obviously, skills as a therapist, but especially in private practice and pro sport, subjective assessment, objective assessment, communication, effective explanation, I call that. Treatment plan design, there are 4 skills we need, okay, or 4 pillars. Hands-on treatment, if you do that. Low-level rehab, bridge the gap from low to high level, and then your resilience, your robustness, your strength and conditioning. So those 8 pillars. The SOS, this making sense of the symptoms, that's going to happen in subjective, objective assessment, okay? So the first 2 pillars there, okay? The BAR, the buy-in, the adherence, the retention, the buy-in and the adherence certainly is going to be the next 2 pillars, which is the communication and the treatment plan design. And then the retention, it's all going to be then obviously progressing to the next milestone. That's where you're going to use your hands-on treatment, your low-level rehab, and then the retention up into bridging the gap from low to high-level rehab will keep your patients progressing. You're hitting these milestones, and then that gives you the best chance to get to that dream outcome, thoughtless, fearless movement, which is essentially then the last pillar. Okay, so in the mentorship, how I do this is I break down those 8 pillars into those 3 components as well. So modules 1 and 2 is subjective objective assessment and effective explanation, treatment plan design. So that's all making sense of the symptoms. Then you've got your modules 3, 4 and 5, which is lower limb, upper limb and spine, where you'll have your hands-on treatment and your first 2 to 3 rehab progressions. So that's the thing then that's going to get the milestones, hit the first few milestones, give big emotional wins. And then we move into module 6, which is bridging the gap from low to high level rehab. Okay, and then module 7 is showing you how to put it all together with particular case studies that you're going to be running into in everyday life, how to use the full system. So that's really everything that I do. It boils down to SOS, BAR, DOMS. Okay, SOS, sense of symptoms. If you can't make sense of the symptoms, that's where it's going to be really hard to get buy-in adherence. So that's where I would start with that in 99.9% of scenarios, whether you work for me here in the clinic or whether you come on the mentorship program, okay? Because the better we get you at making sense of the symptoms, the more confident you're going to be to answer the 4 big pro sport questions, okay? So if you want to start somewhere, focus on the sense of symptoms. How can I improve my structure and my system and my subjective and my objective to allow me, to empower me to make sense of the symptoms? And the biggest tripwire I see there is therapists focusing too much on a diagnosis, where if you have a shoulder pain patient, you're just staring at the shoulder and you miss the wood from the trees. What isn't doing its job? The elbow, the wrist, the neck, okay? A lot of other things there going on as well, okay? You do that, your confidence will be sky high, then you explain the problem, solution and plan. That gives you the buy-in and adherence, which then sets expectations, and it also allows you to hit the first few milestones then, which buys into the DOMS. Okay, so really, really important. All of this is covered. Obviously, I'm saying a lot of words to you. It's all covered from pages 65 to 70, and then practical application is on 71 right through to 77, 78, where I talk about the 8 pillars on kind of how to do this in a practical environment. Okay, so I hope that was useful for today. In terms of applying this practically, I want to give you a couple of things to kind of take away and look at, okay? So what I would do with this is I would get out a piece of paper now, and I would go subjective, objective, communication or treatment plan design next to that, hands-on, low-level rehab, high-level rehab, and S&C. So your 8 pillars. I would then score them out of 10, okay? Take the emotional decision-making. How strong am I in all of these? Then I would get SOS underneath that, sense of symptoms, BAR, buy-in, adherence and retention, and then in brackets I would put the 4 questions, okay, 4 pro sport questions, and then the DOMS, DOMS, okay, dream outcome, milestones, and starting fast. Then I would score myself, how good am I at making sense of the symptoms out of 10? How good am I at answering the 4 pro sport questions? And then how good am I at actually hitting the dream outcomes, but most importantly, hitting the first few milestones in the first few sessions to get my patient well on the way to the dream outcome, so I give them a big emotional win early. Once you get all that information, I appreciate there's a lot there, there's an audit there, okay, and essentially that's what I do on coaching calls with therapists who are interested in the mentorship, is I go through all this with them essentially by asking them questions. But once you understand then your scores to be some bit, I know a lot of it's subjective, you'll start to identify the gaps in your knowledge, and you can see then, okay, here's the gaps, I just need to fill these gaps and I have to go get the knowledge in order to do that, okay? Of course, if you want some help with that, the go-to-physio.com/mentorship, that'll show you kind of how I fill the gaps in therapist knowledge, but most importantly then is give them that knowledge to apply it in the real world and see results. And that's how we can do this so quickly, is because in the mentorship, the step-by-step system and the training is one component, but it's the coaching and the mentoring is the other component that's really important, okay? Because then when you implement this, I can give you shortcuts, but then when you run into roadblocks, which everybody does, that's where we need guidance, support most, okay? And then the third component of the mentorship is community, where other therapists are there alongside you, supporting you also, because private practice, it's very, very isolated and it can be a lonely place. So that's it for this week. Get your piece of paper, score your 8 pillars, score your SOS, your BAR, your DOMS, identify the gaps in knowledge. And as I said, if you want some support, the go-to-physio.com/mentorship is there. If you want to pick up a copy of the book, the go-to-physio.com/book. If you want to get your questions answered in the podcast, the go-to-physio.com/questions. And then for our other project, if you're not quite ready for the mentorship, the go-to-physio.com/members. That's due to be launched very soon. But as I said, if you want to get this done, if you want to cut out all the messing around and you want to get clarity, you want to be calm, you want to be confident, then the go-to-physio.com/mentorship, that is the flagship program that I ultimately do this with therapists. We do it in 6 to 8 weeks with the majority of therapists depending on your time. As I said, I've done this for 1,000 plus therapists at this point. I've coached a lot of therapists and I see the same gaps in knowledge. And then I suppose most important of all, from your point of view as well, is we do this with therapists in our own clinic. So when therapists come and work with us, we onboard them using the exact same approach, okay? When I go into a pro sport environment, I use the exact same approach with head physios and assistant physios to mentor them as well, to put the structures and systems in place in professional sports settings. That's it for this week. If you enjoyed the show, please share the show. No advertisements or anything like that. I don't waste your time with ads. Okay, obviously give you the resources for the mentorship in the book and questions and stuff like that. But in terms of paid products and product placements, where the world's gone crazy these days with that stuff, there's none of that crap. If you get value from the show, please share it with a colleague, because ultimately the people that benefit the most is the people that are living in pain that have failed traditional approaches. And if we can have clarity, if we can have confidence, then we can help a lot of people. We can solve their biggest problems. We can always give more value than we take in payment, and we can make a real difference to these people's lives. So share the show. And if you want to do me a massive favor, you got a lot of value from the show, then don't be afraid to leave a review on the show as well. It just helps us get the awareness out there. All right, that's it for this week. Let's get out there. Let's make massive differences in people's lives. Let's solve big problems. Let's actually keep our patients progressing. Let's make sure that we can make sense of the symptoms, get buy-in, adherence, retention, hit dream outcomes by hitting the milestones along the way, to keep our patients confident that they trust us, that they know we can get them their dream outcomes. All right, that's it for this week. See you next week.